Hi everybody, welcome to We're Vancouver, the podcast that highlights stuff around downtown Vancouver, Washington, and all over Vancouver, Washington, I guess. We're here joined today with our friend Mark. Mark is standing in for our friend Sheldon, who wasn't feeling good today.
We miss you, Sheldon.
We miss you, Shel. He'll be back here stronger than ever. He's actually working out. He's going to be really, really strong.
He's so buff these days.
And then down at the end over here, we have...
Hi, y'all. I'm Jeremiah. As always, we are highlighting businesses here in the Main Street corridor. What would we call this? Uptown,
I would say,
downtown, and stuff?
Yeah, Main Street corridor.
Yeah.
What would you,
Uptown.
We're officially uptown, y'all.
Yeah.
So
you passed 15.
we're gonna.
Okay.
Is that the line?
Is that the line?
That is the line.
Well, there's a no man land there.
This is
no plane and 15.
We'll watch our language since we're officially in uptown.
Oh, yeah.
But we're happy to have Mark here. Usually, Mark is behind the camera. He's one of our producers, and he is, if you didn't know, the original brain master of this whole.
It was his
event,
idea.
so.
I didn't believe in it. I said, Mark, that's a dumb
like,
idea. I don't
ridiculous.
want to do it. And
but here we are.
Now
here we are. So welcome to this side, and so let's introduce our guest. Please.
Yeah, let's introduce. So today we wanted to bring you guys into the space that is Relevant Coffee, amazing coffee company, and we're here with the owner, Mitch. And Mitch tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about how you got into coffee and about Relevant. Give us
we have a half an hour, right?
Yeah, we got
all right, so bridge version. I've been in and out of the coffee business for 23 years. I've been roasting coffee officially for 14 years.
Wow.
And and we are we're just about to actually celebrate our 5-year anniversary as a cafe in March. So just doing coffee.
5 years as a cafe.
5 years as a cafe.
And I met you when you were roasting for another coffee company here in Vancouver. Before you even owned a cafe and stuff, you were the head roaster.
Which one was that?
Torque. Do you remember
Torque?
Torque?
Yeah, down where
Downtown.
Brews.
Smoking Oak took over that space, but it was Torque Coffee, and it was a very popular, cool
It was. It was like when I first moved to Vancouver in 2012. I was, just in the middle of a big life change, and I grew up in the Seattle area, so it was kind of my move back to the Northwest. I spent 8 years prior to that in Phoenix.
Oh, dang!
And so I had enough sun.
Coffee there?
Oh. Well,
do you need
cold brew. Large dose of sunshine. I had my fill and came back to the Pacific Northwest and ended up in Vancouver. And I really almost immediately felt at home and fell in love with it. But Torque, going back to Torque, they were one of the few roasters in town. So I think one of two.
And they roasted on site. You roasted on site and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a whole part of that, bringing that roaster on board, and roasted for them for almost 2 years, and then I left, had a kid. Kind of at that point was you got a kid, so you really got to get serious about working.
Yeah.
And decided to start my own thing, and then that was Relevant, and that was just in my garage.
Well, I was telling you before the podcast started, you guys are a staple in Vancouver now. Everyone knows and loves Relevant.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
But I think a lot of that has to do with this space that you've got now. Because
y'all
were small and around the corner, right? For a bit.
1.5 blocks up the road, and just a little 450 square foot, corner spot.
But I love that spot.
It was dope.
Just
I love that spot.
Walking in and the barista is 5 feet from you.
I missed that. Yeah. There was no complications.
Yeah.
You walked in, you gave somebody coffee, they turned around and walked out, and there was kind of if they had to, there wasn't any space really in there. But
Wait, you did want to make a living doing coffee in the Pacific Northwest.
Right. So we had to do something greater than
it's crazy to see you come from Torque, where you're the head roaster, to now what Relevant's become, which is awesome. I mean, you roast on site, you do your own cold brew on site, you do. It's just become this kind of focal point and this meeting point in Vancouver. Everyone loves it. I've never met anyone that doesn't love Relevant. So
this is the closest place for me to get coffee in the morning with my partner, and we get up in the morning like, let's go get coffee. And you know, we all met through Brewed, and this thing started there. Mm-hmm. One of the things I really like is how, you know, it might be just because there hasn't had that saturation point that's been hit yet, but it seems like a lot of the local roasters, you guys really support each other.
Oh yeah,
you know, you talk
in fact,
each other.
I think last time I ran into you was at Brewed.
Yeah,
you're getting some.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Cody
you gotta
and
do some
all the
investigative
guys at Brewed are awesome.
espionage and stuff. Like
No, not even like we just, you know, like you're saying, like we support each other. I think it's like I would not have been in this business so long if the people that worked in the coffee industry were not as great as they are. They are like some of the best people I've ever worked with. I mean, the industry is huge, and you probably don't know. You know, this is what the average Joe sees is like walking into the coffee shop, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's so nice in here, and look at all the like bright, you know, natural light, and I got my cup of coffee. But like, you know, where coffee comes from, like that's where I get really passionate about is like the farmers and the sourcing, and you know, oil is the most traded commodity in the world, and coffee is the second most traded commodity.
I didn't know that.
That's crazy, right?
That's crazy.
It's huge. So there's this huge industry that supports like this small piece of the pie of what people see, and you know, most Americans, honestly, I think the numbers pan out to like 33% of Americans drink coffee like outside of the home. So most people drink coffee in the house. Mm-hmm. And when you think about it that way, and you think about all the coffee that there has to be to, you know, support people's habits, because we're in the drug business. Sure. It's not. I was joking with my wife. We're in the drug business, but we're not in the like expensive drug business. Yeah. I need to get in a different drug business.
That's true.
But when you think about where the coffee comes from, you know, and it's got to be a country between the Tropic of Cancer, the Tropic of Capricorn, center, you know, equator, tropical. It's a tropical fruit. It really is quite amazing that we get the pit of a cherry and turn it into a beverage. And
it's a fruit, and it's important to remember that. It really is.
Yeah. And it's something I need, and it comes from the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And I need it.
Well, speaking of which, let's try something, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we got lots of cool stuff here.
What should we start with here? Should we just go from this side now?
Yeah, we got it. And drink your whole glass, because we're gonna just use the same glasses. Yep. Sorry, everyone.
You're gonna get caffeinated. I got more glasses behind us here.
No, we're good.
Okay, so we're gonna get caffeinated. I hope that's
we're gonna get.
You can't sleep tonight.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
No, it's Friday.
I ate dinner for a reason.
So Mark, I wanted to ask you, because you spend a lot of time in Bend. Mark, I don't know if you know Mark, our producer, the founder of the podcast, owns a woodworking company. He's a woodworker.
Maple Leaf.
Big woodworking, Maple Leaf.
Maple Leaf woodworking.
Yeah. So how's and you're kind of Central Bend, pretty much.
Yeah.
How's the coffee culture and stuff in Bend? Because I know it mirrors Vancouver a lot, and they kind of play into each other. Portland's kind of outside of that, but I know Vancouver and Bend, there's a lot of local coffees, and there's a lot of like working together, and like everyone's kind of in it together.
You know, there's a lot of really cool kind of my, you know, the community that I got to know here was from Brewed. You know, that's where we all got to know each other, and so I call it my Brewed on the other side of the mountain is Spoken Moto. And
I've been there.
Coffee.
That is a great place.
Yeah, great place.
It's cool.
Motorcycle shop / coffee shop.
And food carts and live music and everything. So that's kind of the hub where I go when I'm on that side of the. There's a cool community there, and who doesn't like to look at motorcycles and good coffee, good food, and you know, you're in the hub where there's breweries and all sorts of stuff around. But another coffee company that I go to over there is Simply Organic. They have a few spots. I don't know if they're specific to Bend, but they do a more organic approach, and they have a spot down in Old Mill
Good
District.
Coffee and stuff.
Good coffee, good pastries, everything like that. But you know, when I'm here, when I'm walking uptown, you know, I come to Relevant. When I'm, you know, downtown, I go to Brewed, and this has you know, Bend is a little more spread out,
more deserty, spread out.
Yeah, a little more rural. Things are close, but what's cool about this community in Vancouver is you can walk everywhere, and everybody knows everybody in this business.
It's taken a while to get that.
And that's what I've heard. This business is looking out for that business, and I heard it hasn't always been that way, but it's a very vibrant, beautiful community, and coffee's huge here. But
Wow.
Well, cheers, guys.
What do we got here?
Tell us what we're drinking. Yeah.
We are drinking this. So this is one of our new products that we're launching. So we just this year launched. Well, actually, end of last year launched our canned cold brew, and so we got 4 different ones to try here. So this first one here is a collaboration with Ranger Chocolate, and they're a chocolate maker in Portland.
Yep.
And we've been working with them like literally since day one.
You carry their chocolate.
We carry their chocolate. We use their chocolate.
cocoa, right?
Yep.
Ranger
And there's a
chocolate.
lot of synergies between us and them. Like they source their own cacao, they roast it in site.
Okay.
It's just like a lot of like really awesome synergies between us and them. And so this is brewed with the byproduct of roasting cacao, which is like husks and nibs and dust.
Okay.
And normally this gets like thrown away. So we wanted to brew it.
I already took a sip.
Oh. Well,
It was
Yeah. That's good. That's great.
like the chocolate.
the chocolate.
Yeah, it
it's
comes through
coffee and
immediately.
unsweetened chocolate. It's awesome.
my.
Comes through immediately.
That's really good.
This is game changing stuff. I love this
That's
coffee.
really good.
Is this so? This is a 12-ounce can that you got
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
Is that equivalent caffeine-wise to a 12-ounce strip?
No.
No,
that's
that's
probably like 2 cups of coffee.
That's like
You feel it.
6 shots of
My
espresso
mom
in
would
that
really.
can.
I need to get this for my mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did say you were in the
does-
drug business.
It
Let's,
says dark chocolate and toffee notes, and I taste both of those immediately.
Oh my god, that's really nice.
And there's no sugar in there. There's no dairy.
No.
It's like 5 calories for the whole can. So it's coffee and water. And it's
Yeah.
pretty amazing that we can get this
And it'll
flavor
get you-
profile through
And
it.
what's your process to make that?
It's super.
I mean, proprietary.
No.
things, not-
We've been R&Ding this really cool brewer where we're taking technology from extraction industry and applying it with coffee.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we're working with the manufacturer up in Salmon Creek Glacier Tanks, and we've been kind of piecing together this monstrosity of a machine and
Science. You're doing science.
Yeah.
I
So
love
what
it.
normally would take 18 to 24 hours, we can do in 40 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty.
And those are
science.
the machines back there that we were
Yeah,
looking
we
at?
would- yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah.
didn't even know. I didn't know you were science in this.
That's
awesome.
so. I'm a full disclosure. I'm an environmental engineer.
Okay.
I'm into a lot of like unit processes and filtration systems and stuff like that. One of the things about water quality worldwide is you can tell where people were by sampling the lakes and the rivers and testing for caffeine.
Interesting.
And there are very few places throughout the world that don't have trace amounts of caffeine
Wow.
Interesting.
in the fresh water.
That's crazy.
Just because wastewater treatment plants they don't treat for that.
No.
They're not filtering out
They're not
caffeine.
filtering the caffeine.
No.
That's why the fish are harder to catch.
See,
now.
that's why if you go,
They fight a little harder.
Yeah, they're a little faster.
So
Now,
you're
let's go down the line here.
Let's go down the line, yeah.
This is
playing with other kind of. This is nitro.
That's
huh?
nitro. So let me see that one here. Let's,
Yeah, you need to
give
shake
this
it.
one a little shake.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
I love your nitro on tap. That's what I always get when I come in here. That or Italian.
Pour on that.
It's all right. It's all right.
But yeah, I can't wait. And we are going to be wired.
You are going to be wired.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get the nitro effect.
Yeah.
It's coming out slowly.
It's coming. Yeah, you can see it.
It's coming out.
You get a little cream on the top there.
Yeah, if we put all of this into one can or one cup, it would come to the
For
top
sure.
there.
So you brew all of this on site right here on Main Street
Yep.
in
In
downtown Vancouver.
Next.
In
the
this
place
space
over.
right here
Yeah.
behind us.
Yeah.
And do you can it here as well?
Can it here as well,
All that
yeah.
stuff?
Is that not incredible?
That
It's
is.
awesome. He gave us
So
a
how
tour.
long did it take for you to get this space? Because you've had your history with Torque,
Yeah,
you had your spot up the block. Like, what did it really take for you to decide that like I need all of these things?
And
in
could you
one
see it when
location?
you walked into here?
So yeah, I grew up in a construction family. So
Oh,
my
okay.
dad was a general contractor, and I've worked with him when I was a kid, and we've taken spaces and transformed them from one idea to another. He's built some restaurants and stuff, so I kind of have this eye for being able to tell. Like, I walked in here and
you're not intimidated by what is.
No,
Like,
I know what can be, right?
Okay.
And so this was really kind of this sad office space with cubicles and all these.
I never gave it a second look. I never gave it a second look whenever.
Well, there was no glass here.
The glass wasn't here.
It wasn't here.
No.
It was these like panels. All
Yeah, the
the
panels.
It was terrible.
The storefront was here.
The
but
weird
there
colored
was
panels.
No glass.
Yeah.
And so walking in here and looking at the place, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there is storefront basically from the floor to the ceiling. And there was a drop ceiling in here too, so I could see the storefront went above the drop ceiling.
Oh my gosh.
And I just thought to myself, I'm like, if we put glass in, that's going to be totally open this place up. And again, this was an office, so it, there was blue carpet and it was pretty hideous.
I can't believe you got rid of the blue carpet.
There's still some in the back somewhere.
Some of this is original.
My dad and I, we sanded.
Yeah.
We
The floors are
pulled all
great.
the
Was
staples
this
out.
under the carpet?
This is
To
under the
everybody
carpet,
who's
yeah.
watching this, I'm sorry, but this is a beautiful space,
It
and
really
we've got a
is.
limited ability
They
to
can-
showcase
you
that
can see
right
a little
now. But it is gorgeous. It is very light. To come in here and get your morning coffee on
Yeah.
a winter's day when
Definitely the
it's gross outside,
sunniest coffee
it
shop.
feels good. You guys always make sure to have plants in here. It feels very, very inviting,
So
very
that's
warm.
part of my philosophy for coffee. I think you need to have like a nice, open, airy, natural light.
That
Like
is
you
so
go back
good.
to our other space, and it was only 450 square feet,
Yeah.
but we had huge windows
Yeah.
and tall ceilings, and
Enormous,
it
yeah.
felt open.
It sure did.
It did.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have built this place out unless it had the same kind of feel.
Even like
So-
meeting with people in your space, which I used to all the time in your old space, it never felt like anyone could hear your conversations because the ceilings were
Yeah,
so tall.
it's great.
Like you never felt listened into. And now you have this huge space, which is amazing. And like I said, the sunniest coffee shop in Vancouver. And I love this kind of like false wall that you built right here at the window. Was that your idea?
That
Like,
was,
it's great.
I wanted
It
to
is.
demystify the
Process,
roasting
like,
process.
yeah.
I love
so
it.
I love breweries.
Yeah.
I love distilleries. I love
Directly to my
winding.
left is the roaster.
Yeah.
And
I'll
you
show
can
it-
see
I'll show it
it
in
through a
B-roll.
wall that is appropriate for having employees over. But it's all glass.
That's our
You can see it.
fishbowl, actually. So.
That's I know. I would hate to have
It
that.
can be. It's a love-hate relationship.
Guess what? You're roasting at 10 a.m. Oh man,
I
everybody's
love
gonna be like,
that it kind of opens the. What do they say? Opens the Komodo? Is that not a good? I don't know what that is.
I think
I don't
that's
think we're- I
politically
think that's all right,
okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Well, he did say demystify, so I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, you open it up, let people see what is a coffee roaster. I mean, when I was a kid, I had no idea that coffee was a fruit. I literally thought it was a bean that was like dug out of the ground. I mean,
Yeah.
that brown bean that has a funky taste. But I think that's just because we don't grow coffee here except for Hawaii, right? And
Sure.
we grow lots of corn. You ask any American, like, what's a ear of corn look like? And they can describe it to you. But you ask anybody
What's a coffee
what's a
plant
coffee
look like?
plant look like, and you get a bunch of,
Yeah.
doe-eyed,
That would be an interesting thing.
deer in the headlight look.
Yeah. To
So-
have kids like draw what a coffee plant looks like, because you probably get all sorts. I think I would draw
Fuzzy shit.
That'd be fun,
Crazy
actually,
thing.
right? Yeah.
What
So
about
it
it?
says the tasting notes are berries, cocoa. This is Ethiopia.
Ethiopia, natural
Ooh,
process.
okay.
Yeah.
The tasting notes are berries, cocoa, and adventurous.
Yeah.
Is a tasting note.
I think this is one of my favorites.
So I didn't show you the last one.
Wow.
That was awesome.
Ooh, you can taste those berries.
No doubt. So you said natural process.
Natural process, yeah.
This is something that Cody at Brewed has talked to me about.
Okay,
Can you
all right.
describe the difference?
Sure.
Like what does it mean when you say a natural process?
So the two main types of processed coffee. Now, coffee is a fermented food,
Yep.
right?
Okay.
Okay, that's the complexity of the flavor profile of coffee comes from fermentation. The two main processes that you get, and there are several in between, but you have like mostly washed and naturals. And natural, as we know, like if you go to the grocery market, it says natural, and you're like, what's that mean?
Yeah, sure.
It applies to coffee, does not apply to coffee at all. So a natural process and a wash, they pick the cherry in a natural and they put it on, they leave the cherry intact and they put it on these big like raised drying beds that could
Yep.
be 50 meters long, and
It's like a big frame with like a metal
grid
or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
it lets the airflow on both the bottom and the
Okay.
top, and
Yeah,
they
I've seen
only
that.
layer it up like 8 or
Cool.
10 inches. They'll turn it and mix it, and they'll keep the fermentation under control that way. But the fermentation happens inside the skin.
the fruit
of the
is
cherry,
fermented.
right? You have the natural
Okay.
yeasts that are floating in the air. You have the sugars
Gotcha.
from the fruit. If you go to an apple orchard, late in the season and the apples have fallen to the ground, it smells like apple cider vinegar.
Yeah.
Because those apples are fermenting on the ground in
Sure.
their own skin. That's the same thing with the
You ever
coffee.
seen a drunk bird?
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean it happens from,
It does.
from eating fermented fruit. So that process allows. So is washed the opposite
washed-
of natural?
Right. Well, being that it is picked and then it goes into giant processing like plant, and it goes through a big machine called depulper that basically strips the fruit from
Tumbles
the seed.
it through. And
It just strips the fruit from the seed.
Okay.
And you have the raw seed, and at that point that seed goes into usually it's like a big open pit, and again the natural yeasts in the air and the fruit that's still bound to the seed is the fuel for the fermentation.
okay.
Wow. Okay.
So, but you don't have the bulk of the rest.
You don't
of the
have the
fruit
rest of the
like
fruit,
they
right.
do in that.
And you got to realize that a coffee cherry is nothing like a Rainier cherry or a Bing cherry that we experience. Like those are mostly the flesh of the fruit. When you eat a Rainier cherry, they're delicious. The seed is really small, and you have a lot of fruit like flesh by itself.
Sure.
A coffee cherry is mostly coffee seed with a very small amount of fruit and then a really thick skin. So it's there's not a lot of fruit there you wouldn't just go and be like coffee cherries and
No,
have
for sure.
It's all seed.
I love this Ethiopian.
But there's clearly enough there to promote the
Very good,
fermentation,
very
because
good.
if
Yes,
you manage to strip the seed out from the flesh, fermentation needs a
Has
little
to have
bit
the
of
flesh.
sugar,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Like-
And that is the reason why it's fermented is because the flesh is bound to the seed with what's called mucilage. And it's this super sticky, high pectin.
Got
And you couldn't even scrape that off with your finger.
Right.
So you need to ferment it. As soon as it's fermented, then it just sloughs right off, and you have the seed in what's called parchment, which is like a protective.
That's
papery
why it's
substance.
natural.
Can you make coffee out of beans that haven't gone through the fermentation process? Like if you put a belt sander to that motherfucker and get all the sticky shit off?
Right? Like
No, for real. I'm just curious.
I don't know. I've never tried that.
Jeremiah, you got to start a
Maybe,
coffee
maybe.
shop. Jeremiah's belt sanded.
I don't know.
I'm not. I promise I'm not.
Like I said, the complexity comes from the fermentation, just like in sauerkraut and beer.
So
and
why would you
wine and-
avoid that anyway?
That's where the good stuff.
Yeah,
comes
why
from.
would you
So,
avoid it? Yeah.
There is a process called a honey process, and that is like the least fermented, and it does have a kind of a more unique flavor.
Okay.
Not as crazy as like the natural. Naturals are the highest risk and the highest reward coffees out there because
Okay.
fermentation can go from like really good to really bad.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Like
Yeah.
over fermented coffee can taste like animal flesh and and like beef and like
Oh,
motor
really?
oil and all these different
Those aren't the tasting notes you
No,
really
those aren't the
put
notes
on your
that you-
placard, you know.
Those don't fall under
When the
adventurous.
soccer moms go to town, you don't want that on your
beefy.
But okay, so this
I like my
is
coffee really beefy.
this is a natural process
This is a natural,
Ethiopian single origin bean.
Yep. This is our one of the coffees that we bring in from a importer that specializes in Ethiopian coffees.
I love it. I think
So
that's,
you make sure to work through people who are supplying. You talked
Absolutely.
earlier about the supply process,
so
and I think
important.
you meant to imply the ethics that are behind
Absolutely,
that.
yeah.
But I think it's important to spell that out a little bit.
Well, thank you.
because
You're taking the words right out of my mouth.
Then-
It is important. It is vastly important. Being that coffee is not something that we produce in the U.S., it's produced in many different countries. There are labor and economic forces that are unique to each coffee producing country, and each country has its own struggle. But you have very large multinational corporations that have kind of artificially kept the price of coffee really low because that impacts their bottom line when they're able to buy really cheap coffee. So much so that coffee hasn't really kept pace with the cost of production, and so
it's undervalued in
totally.
terms of the
Well,
commodity.
to the point now where it in many instances it actually costs more to produce than they can sell it for.
Okay.
And
So somebody's getting the shit out of that
yeah,
steak.
yeah.
Like,
And I've been roasting for 14 years and kind of paying attention to it for that long.
Sure.
And 14 years ago, just getting into the roasting part of coffee and learning about where coffee comes from, I'm hearing like, oh, there's this kind of slow moving crisis of cost and what they can produce it and how much they can sell it for. And, fast forward to today, and with the pandemic exacerbating like everything.
Yeah.
And now I just talked to one of my importers that was in Guatemala, and she was telling me, she's like, I didn't realize it was as bad as it is. Like we're paying record high prices for these coffees because of somewhat of the pandemic, but thinking that money that we're spending goes directly to the farms, but that's not the case. It's even those labor shortages that we have here are also in Guatemala, and they're having to pay twice, 3 times for the same amount of labor to pick the coffee. And so, just as all these
because what's that
different things.
process? Like somebody literally has to go to this plant and pick each individual fruit as it is.
It grows on a tree.
Yeah.
And it grows in clusters. And the unique thing about coffee as it ripens, it doesn't ripen in clusters. So you'll have a cluster of like unripe, half ripened, and fully ripened cherries.
Oh,
and
so you got to come back and forth.
you got to go like 3 different times
So
through the
it's
same
not,
tree.
you can't just roll a machine over it. Yeah.
There's no robot that does.
Well, and
that.
you're talking about like size of mountains, right? So you're not going to be rolling a machine.
Very true.
There's only one origin, and that's Brazil. Their elevation in certain areas are like mostly on like a plateau, and they got flat coffee growing land, and they can do machines. But they are pulling all the cherry at once, and you are generally you have to hunt for really high quality because of that problem. That they're not getting the ripest of the cherries.
So if you start out from a quality perspective, you're inevitably going to be confronted with your sourcing and how you work through that.
Right, and you want to source from good quality farms, groups that are focusing on doing the right things, treating the land well, treating the environment well, and also like their people, like who they hire and how much they're paying.
It
wages.
supports the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a part of that.
A lot of these farms
and
are have the schools for the kids and have medical care for whole towns. Like you might have a coffee producing town where they have like a co-op where they bring all their coffee cherry to, and they can process them and sell them. But those co-ops might be supporting healthcare in their town. They might be supporting schooling in the town. So it is it's a very interconnected product, and it really does lift impoverished communities up. Coffee can bring a whole community.
If you go about it ethically.
Right. If you're not trying to get the lowest price possible, I think it's quite a cool commodity.
Okay, so we're going to move away from the brilliance of just a single origin, natural, wonderful brew, and now y'all have done something with this one.
So another one of our collaborations. We've been working with these guys for a few years now. So this is a collaboration with Bull Run Distilling.
Where are they located?
They're in Portland. Yeah. So they make some awesome whiskey. This is a process that we kind of there is whiskey coffee on the market. I'm not saying we pioneered it, but we came up with this washing process for aging the coffee, in imparting the whiskey note to the coffee. So there is no whiskey in this. This is all done prior to roasting, and then when we roast it, we get up to 400 plus degrees.
Ooh, does it come through though?
Oh yeah.
This is prior to roasting.
This is prior to roasting.
That's amazing.
Now that's interesting. We so we do a lot of things with beer, right? Like this group has done a lot of, and people age beer in various casks all the time. But you're telling me this is just like raw ingredients before you get there?
The raw green coffee. What we get in prior to roasting, we do the washing process.
That's good.
It's really good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
You can smell the whiskey.
It's unique. It's really unique.
So yeah,
Super unique.
Prior to roasting, you definitely won't. No alcohol would survive that. So
No, this is
So you guys
the
science.
Sand-
flavors are it.
it's awesome, right?
Science.
It's science, is what it is.
This is wild. Yeah.
Pseudoscience.
Oh, that's good.
We just like fucking around.
Yeah, I love
Clearly.
it.
Oh, that whiskey. Wow.
That's
It's
good.
really good.
That is
really
really
good.
good. That is really good.
Yeah, it's not overpowering. It's still coffee, but it's got that nice, vanilla. You can taste the tannins. It's, it's
for
super
sure.
good.
It's pretty amazing how from each one you could taste the specific notes, like from the dark chocolate to the berries to the whiskey. I mean, it's not overpowering, but it's there, and it's just
Right?
subtle, but
Yeah,
it's nice.
It helps so much to
It's
sit down with
distinct as
someone
can
who
be,
knows
though.
coffee.
Yeah, I mean, you know
Yeah.
it's there, but it's not like, it's
So
perfect.
what's behind that is that like, because if you're doing that with beer, right, you're using different strains of hops, you
Right,
might be
right,
using different yeast. What is it about the coffee plant that'll give you those distinct notes, like a
It's-
Honduran versus an Ethiopian?
I think it's a multitude of things. One, processing influences flavor so much. So
Okay.
if it's a washed or a natural, like that's a huge.
Sure.
I've had experiments where we've had like processing sets where it's the same coffee just processed different ways.
Okay.
And then we'll roast it, and you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that's the same coffee because it's
Really?
completely different."
Okay.
Because the fermentation just really drives the flavor profile.
Especially with whiskey,
Right. And so, but then beyond that, coffee is not one varietal; it's many varietals and many hybrids.
Yeah.
And there are heirloom varietals that are just like a tomato. Like there's an heirloom tomato, delicious, right? Store bought tomato, not great.
Yeah.
I'll pass. Coffee, heirloom varietals can be just phenomenal. And then
Same
there's
plant, same classification,
Yep.
just
there are varietals that are hybridized to survive a fungus called coffee rust, which is just, it really can decimate a crop. So there are, I think it's called like a Sarchimore is a varietal that is more resistant to coffee rust. So they have done hybridization of like different varietals with that particular coffee
in order to.
to
Gotcha.
survive the rust,
Okay.
but still produce something that tastes good. Because
Gotcha.
there are some varietals taste better than others.
Yeah.
And that will influence the flavor. And then, finally, I think it's going to be like soil elevation, amount of
Environmental
sunshine, environmental
influences,
influence,
stuff
how
like
much
that.
rain it's getting.
Yeah,
I know that like stress on a coffee plant will definitely influence the quality of the cherry because if it's stressed out, the plant's going to put a lot of effort into growing the fruit.
Oh,
See,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
like some other kind of fruit
Interesting.
plants, you
Yeah.
almost want to stress
Yep.
them out.
Yep.
Like a good wine producing region is one that typically makes the grapes really fight for it, right?
Right.
So like,
Exactly.
Yeah,
Really
interesting.
high elevation where it's like hot during the day and cold at night can usually get some really great,
think about that, y'all,
Right.
when you
Well,
have your
let's-
morning coffee.
Let's get into
Moving on to a different type of collaboration.
On top of you guys making amazing coffee, and we just tried your cold brew, but obviously you have a full menu of coffes and lattes and everything that you
Incredible
that you do right in the
pastries,
shop.
too.
Pastries.
Super good pastries.
Mark's a
Indeed.
big pastry guy. But even just
Guilty.
stopping in here, like I said, I always get Italiano or a nitro cold brew whenever I stop in here and stuff. But the time that you guys put into the time and the care into timing your shots, into doing everything the right way is incredible. I
thanks.
really appreciate that.
There's a lot of effort that goes into that, and a lot
Yeah.
of that's behind the scenes, and nobody sees it. But I think you can taste it when you come in.
Yeah.
One of the things I really like is no matter who's behind the counter here, I get the same
Quality of
product.
Yeah.
From the customer service to
Sure.
whatever ends up in my cup, from whatever I
Yeah.
asked for, from the moment I walk in the door.
No way.
And that is,
Yeah.
I'm serious. Like
No.
that, I try so hard to
It's a big
train
deal.
our staff so that I joke that we are a hospitality company that just has a coffee problem because
Oh, that's a good way to look at it, actually.
Because that's what we're in the business of. We're in the
Yeah.
business of
God, I can pour this
being a community partner and opening our doors to
Yeah.
our neighborhood
And
speaking of that, we're diving in here. You do some collabs with some different breweries and different people. This one, talk a little bit about this collab that you did. Who is this with?
This is with Brothers
Cascadia.
They're awesome. Have you guys done a podcast with them?
Not yet, but we have tried a lot of their beers on our podcast. We love those guys.
Yeah, they're awesome. We love them too. So this is the Shadow People.
Yeah.
This is a porter with our coffee. There's a lot of coffee in this too. This is like super heavy.
5.8%, y'all. It's not so bad. It is a coffee forward porter.
That is good though.
It's really good.
Yeah, I love that. Shadow People.
Shadow People, yeah.
Shadow People.
Very coffee.
Let's show this.
Get up there. Put it up there for the people, for the non-shadow people.
There you go.
Y'all check it out.
You see this? You can get it wherever beer is sold around, especially around here.
That is very.
That really good.
It's
Yeah,
really
cheers.
good. So Cascadia, Tap Union, Ben's Bottle Shop, wherever you're buying beer.
They do such a good job with beer, and it's so fun to collaborate. You know, we really put a lot of effort into our product, and I really enjoy working with other makers that are as passionate in their industry that I am in mine.
That's a good way
That's
to
cool.
put it.
So that's like going back to what we were talking about, how the coffee roaster community here is really supportive. It extends beyond that. Like you've got partners all over the place, and people are really willing. I've found here in Vancouver, which is one of the reasons we want to highlight all of y'all and make a big deal out of this. It is incredible how supportive this community is in terms of
to each other.
The reciprocal kind of support that people give to anything out here.
And crossing those boundaries between not just coffee shops are supportive, but the fact that you're collabing with these different breweries and stuff, and you see Little Conejo that's collabing with Pete. You guys,
we've done. We did that. So we took one of their mezcal partners that they work with that brings in some mezcal. We did a mezcal similar to
that wash
whiskey.
process. So you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
yep. And that was really good.
That sounds good.
And we took like a Oaxacan mezcal and paired it with a Oaxacan coffee. And,
nice.
Yeah, right. And they're specialized in Oaxacan food. It was just really cool. It was like so many layers, right?
That's super fun. That's so great. Yeah. I love it, and that's encouraging because that's what we try to do anyway, is to build bridges between business owners and stuff in downtown Vancouver. And that was the whole point that when Mark came up with the podcast is like, let's just highlight these companies, let's build some bridges.
He did that.
He did that.
Yes.
But the fact that you guys are doing that, like it happened, and it takes one business walking into another business and being friends with
All
them.
we're doing is showcasing what's going on.
That's
Y'all
awesome.
are the ones doing it.
Yeah,
You're
right?
doing it. Yeah, that's cool.
That's awesome. That
I'm looking
there
forward
are
to the
those
day where I can have like a Oaxacan chocolate mezcal, maybe coffee facial mask.
nitro coffee.
As I'm getting a permanent eyebrow tattoo while suspended from at the source. Somehow got to bring climbing into it.
There are a lot of there are a lot of beauty shops,
There's a lot of
hairdressers, barbers in Vancouver. A lot.
More than I've ever seen in such a small little geographic
crazy.
area.
It's working. If you need your eyebrows,
I've never seen a bad haircut come out of one, so
I'll tell
it's
you
working.
what, people around here have been
Vancouver.
prettier, man.
Yeah, everyone here has good
I need to
haircuts.
step
Look
up
at
my
Jeremiah,
game.
you got a haircut recently?
I did. Thanks for
I got it cut 4 times on the way here tonight.
Just walking by businesses.
I'll go a little shorter.
Come on in. No, that's awesome. And Jeremiah, your hair was long. We didn't do a podcast last month. We did a event called January.
That's right.
And we
That
did
was
it
down
at
at
Brick
Brick
House,
House
which
right
we can
there.
see from
you can
here.
see it, yeah.
Which you can see from here.
They also have they got our nitro cold brew on draft.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
There you
Randy
go.
Johnson could probably throw a baseball from here.
Yeah,
to
he
there,
probably could.
Yeah.
but I couldn't.
Does that cross the line? Is that downtown?
That's that no man land.
That's
I see.
between
Where
Milk
Milk
Lane,
Lane
and
splits and
15th.
shit?
Yeah.
Milk Lane and
All right.
15th. That's
All right.
Midtown.
That's
what we call it.
That's
So for your best Midtown music club, go to Brick House.
So we did
we did
January. Yeah, we
did
had
January.
what, 7
Gosh.
bands, 8 bands.
6 or 7 bands.
Seven bands. Seven
bands by the time it was all said and done.
That's awesome.
Amazing. It's a benefiting $4, which you guys know if you listen to the podcast. It's our friends who pay off medical bills.
Jared Walker?
Yep.
Crushes medical.
Crushes medical
debt,
bills.
I think is
medical
how he wants to
debt.
go about it.
Collected a lot of money for them to be able to do
Really
that.
did, and talk about a collaborative
Yeah,
thing. Brothers Cascadia and Lewitt helped us out, and each donated a keg. And then Brickhouse was kind enough to let us have all these bands perform, and
all the
of
bands donated the time.
All the bands donated the time.
Thank you
Our
guys.
local
It was an
musicians.
amazing show.
awesome.
too.
That
It was
is
awesome. It was a lot of fun.
It was great, man, and there were so many good acts, and some people just rocked, and some people were chill. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
But at the end of the whole ordeal, I think we made somewhere between $2,000 and $2,500,
Yeah.
and
I think it was about 2,500, and that equals out to almost. Wouldn't that be about 50,000 in medical bills?
so he's one of the things that Jared's organization manages to do
You gotta give Jared
is,
my contact information.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
That
Oh
sounds
yeah.
like a good
He's
cause.
But
amazing.
the way he flexes it, like
His office is only a couple blocks up too. So
he has a $50 for every dollar donated. He's able to leverage that.
Wow.
With how he operates, man.
Pretty rad.
So yeah, if that event was able to put $2,000, $2,500 together,
$2,500 out of
I
2
mean,
kegs, and
we're talking a good $125,000 in terms of crushing medical debt. So thank you, Vancouver. If you came out
showed
that
up,
night,
yeah. And that's the first
you
of many.
showed up for January, we're going to try to do another one in the summer.
Yeah.
And we'll figure out a
we'll
reason.
let Mark plan it out
Because that's what he does best.
because that's what he does best.
You want
So
to,
tell us about this one.
This
yeah.
is a collaboration with Trapdoor.
I love this.
Which
community.
Trapdoor is like
Trapdoor's just up
right
the
up
block,
road.
right?
Yeah, yep.
Great guys.
Yeah,
Also
great
on
guys.
Main Street. Yep.
Another awesome brewery.
They are
Yeah.
definitely uptown.
So this is a stout. This is a breakfast stout. It's got coconut, chocolate, and coffee in it.
I can taste that.
Yeah.
Is this on your menu, man? I usually just get a
Can I come here and get this
This is
steamer?
This is after. This is you gotta know the right door to
Is that
knock
a
on.
breakfast
Yeah.
stout?
Yeah, so you can.
that's
This is
nice.
a morning beer. You can do this.
If I,
What is that coming? 4.8. Blessings to travelers.
Our boys in red.
so if I come and ask for a coconut steamer, will I get this?
What do we got here?
If I hit a week.
Johnny, tell us what's on the can. What's the stats on this bad boy?
Okay, so the stats on this bad boy, we got 6.2.
Oh, that's a breakfast.
It's a 6.2, so that'll wake you up for breakfast or put you back to sleep.
That's good.
I love it says Best by 11 a.m. because it's 5 o'clock somewhere. So it is true to
It's a morning beer.
Right
So it's
on.
a coffee coconut tropical breakfast stout. Contains lactose. Best by 11 a.m. I love that. Dude, Trapdoor, all their stuff, and shout out to Zeppelin Media because I know they do a lot
Oh, yeah, they
of
do.
their cans and stuff like that. So Michael and those guys over there, amazing people. This is a great.
That
This
went
is a
down too
tasty
fast.
beer.
Yeah, that's really
Can you
good.
taste that coconut in
Oh
it?
yeah.
There's a lot of flavors going on in here.
There's a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
Coconut's roasted, eh? That's good.
But very breakfast.
So how does that work? Do you supply just cold brew to them?
Yeah. So we work with them. A lot of times, our brewer for our cold brewery will work with the brewer for the beer brewery,
Figure
and
out-
they'll collaborate on a recipe and talk about what kind of coffee they want and
Okay.
what kind of flavor profile they're looking for the coffee, and then most recently we've done collaboration with Ex Novo. Yeah, they did a
Wonderful organization.
awesome guys, great beers.
Love Ex Novo, those
I
guys.
wish we had a example to share today because I would love to share that beer with you. It's super good, but we drank it all.
It's all right. It was so good, in fact.
It was very good.
It's,
Yeah.
They're another give back.
So
those
this is a
extra
really
boys.
rad beer, though.
What do we
Moving
got
on
here?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
let's finish this one.
This is a collaboration with a brewery up in Seattle, Urban Family. And
I am
they,
unfamiliar.
they're awesome. So they make a lot of sours,
Okay.
and a lot of just really great beers. Their beers are awesome.
This is one that I'm worried about because it's not worried about it, but it just seems like a strange
So
mix.
wait, this is a sour?
6.5%. Sour, yeah. So it is a raspberry sour with cold brew.
Whoa.
And it's bottle aged, so like the bugs are in here and they've been doing their thing.
Sure.
Wow.
So it's
gonna
pretty
taste a
tasty.
little
Back to your
fermented
natural
and-
process. Ooh, look at the color.
Ooh, pretty color.
So this is a super fun one. We did this in the summer. So we've had these bottles for like, I don't know, 8 months.
So I need to floss after this.
I am wired right now.
So you're like,
No kidding.
it's
Hey, we're used to doing
It's already our
wines
longest
and beers and
podcast, just
ciders.
because-
Do you,
I drove
you do
here. I'm gonna
5
run
shots
home.
of cold brew, man.
I'm running home.
I'm glad I rode my
Hey,
bike.
Cheers.
All right.
Cheers.
Ooh, wee.
Oh, I actually.
That smells fantastic.
uh,
I can smell. There are coffee
Yeah.
notes
Oh, yeah.
on the top of the
Now
raspberry.
that is good.
It's super good.
You can get the coffee notes in the first taste.
That's really good. That's super refreshing.
I'm very impressed.
Yeah,
It's-
and you can
it's-
tell it's fermented right there. It's
Oh,
really
wow.
really good.
Yeah.
That's very
I'd
good.
like to say that this is it's kind of like a chocolate covered raspberry truffle.
Ooh,
Exactly.
perfect.
Exactly.
Well, I was thinking to myself, like, if this were a bonbon, I would send it to my mom on her birthday. You know what I'm saying?
This is a fantastic.
Bon to your mom.
This is a fantastic collaboration. I want to do this one again because it's just so good.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So you
I
start
was worried
with
about it too, but it's great.
the coconut in the morning, and then after 11 dessert, you go to this one.
Yeah,
And then at night, you
this
go
is your
back to
whole
the
day.
shadow people. This is,
We call this uppers and downers. That could be its own podcast.
There. Oh yeah. Oh, that's a great idea.
Start with coffee and with beer.
we're well aware.
Person downstairs.
I have a hat I have a pin in it, and it's it's the kind of the peace sign or whatever, and it just says beer, coffee. And it's from this Northwest. That's the Northwest Speedball. Shot of espresso in it.
Well, this has
Beer
been
aside.
a very enlightening podcast. I've learned more about coffee today than
I've learned a lot.
a lot.
I'm sorry my
Yeah.
phone is going off in the
No,
other.
it's
Oh, that's
okay.
fine.
All right.
Oh, it's all
We
good.
like it. It's your wife going, where the heck are you?
Probably. Yeah.
So, what do you want to do next?
Good question.
That is a good question. You know, I just like having fun. You know, I think like being in this industry for as long as I have, and why I've stuck with it for so long, because I've kind of dabbled in other stuff, and I always find myself going back to coffee. I just have so much damn fun.
Yeah.
It's just a fun industry. Getting to talk to people every day, getting to see somebody's like mood change after they get a cup of coffee in the morning. It's so fun. It's so rad. Like knowing that you're influencing somebody's day, you're making it better.
It really does make the day better.
It does, yeah.
You are like the Willy Wonka of the morning
I
time.
mean, that's why Relevant is named Relevant. It's so raw. Coffee. I'm bringing it back, right?
Yeah.
It's
You
relevant.
did.
It's
Full
relevant to
circle.
people's lives, right? It's for me. First thing I think about when I wake up is like, I stumbled to the coffee maker, and I got 2 kids, so I don't have some fancy elaborate system at home.
Sure.
I just have like a push button coffee maker where like
Yeah.
I got to get them dressed and out the door and on the bus, and then I got to get to work. So it's functionality at my house, and but for I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone. That like when I wake up, it's like, oh, brew some coffee. Like, how relevant is coffee to my life? I can tell you, I can count on 2 hands how many relationships have started, in a coffee shop. I got people that have come back like on their wedding day and say like, oh, our first date was at Relevant Coffee. So rad.
That's perfect.
There's connections made over coffee that is just, there's no other industry like this. It's a really fun industry to be in.
That's
Good.
really beautiful, man. That's really and
If
judging
you're not
by
bored with it and the product that you got, please do keep doing it.
and judging by the moves that you've made since I met you as the head roaster at Torque to what you've built through Relevant and with this whole thing, I'm sure the future has a lot in store for you.
Yeah, thanks.
And we'll always be here to support you in the morning with our.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
As always, we're going to
Thank you.
close with the Underberg.
Yeah.
Right on.
Unpause it to help the digestion.
Here we go.
Salud.
And thank you guys for joining us. We're Vancouver Podcast. Come and check out Relevant. What we didn't mention, where is Relevant?
Main Street and McLaughlin.
Main Street,
17th Street.
17th Street.
Yeah.
17th Street. That'll hit Mark good.
Google will
that was a
do you a
spicy
little
one.
better.
That's a good one.
But you can't come by here and not see it.
Yeah.
You will see the people sitting outside, inside.
It's a bright place.
It's a wonderful place to hang out. It's a good place to get your coffee and pass on through.
Well, thank you guys for highlighting Relevant today. And
Well,
Absolutely.
it's honor, honestly, Johnny. You know, like I said, we met each other a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And to
Full circle.
full circle. This
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah,
So,
it is awesome.
yeah.
Well, thank you guys,
Thank you.
and thank you so much for joining us today. We know it's a long podcast, but hopefully you learned something about the coffee industry and how it's made.
if you have any other questions, come ask this guy.
Yeah, if you want to see how the sausage is made.
Good night.
That was a spicy one.
Woof.
That's good. I like that stuff.